I think we tell ourselves a lot of stories. That's what I see. So it's really neat to break those down and to see people realize, oh, that's just a story I've been telling myself. It's not actually true. And those fears that we hold on to, even as adults, right, that are just there, and we don't really realize that it's really a fear holding us back.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Coachful Coaching Leadership Podcast. Today I am here with Jen Snell, and before we started recording, when I was talking to Jen, we were talking about her in traveling around North America in a 16-passenger van with a bunch of people. So Jen, I know you're a coach and you're a leader, but I am interested in some of that history about you. Traveling, like it's almost like a traveling circus, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, David, like one of my best memories and greatest experiences was traveling with Story Theater Company that runs out of Victoria. And we traveled around North America for 6 months doing shows on bullying and respect for kids in elementary schools. And as you can imagine, I mean, wild experience traveling in a van. We went everywhere from Arizona to small town Saskatchewan to Long Island, New York, and really challenging experience, but so phenomenal at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think what's neat about those experiences and reflecting on them is, we often sort of discount what we learn from those, those career experiences early on, but we learn so much about ourselves and we gain incredible skills from them. So it's really good to reflect on those and think about, how important they are in shaping us.
Well, let's reflect on that in a minute. But before we do that, let's introduce you to everyone. But I am interested in how all that shaped you to where you are right now. But why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, David. And thank you for having me here today. It's
Yeah, my
really,
pleasure.
really awesome to
Long
be
time
here.
coming.
Yeah, that's right. Hello, everyone. I am Jen Snell. I'm a life performance coach. I empower and support both young professionals and seasoned professionals who are feeling unfulfilled or overwhelmed or just ready for a change to take charge of their lives and really level up their life and career.
Mm-hmm.
And what else, David? I am a wife and a mother of 2 kiddos. That's me.
Yeah, yeah, and you live in Alberta, right, in the Calgary area.
I do. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. Yeah.
Yeah, have you guys thawed out there? It was like minus 49 at one point.
Thankfully we have David. Thank goodness for those Chinooks because it is a lot better this week. We had a very cold spell. It was ridiculous. But
Yeah, yeah.
thank goodness for those Chinooks.
I was hearing people's cars weren't starting, things weren't working, just everything just freezes over at minus 49. And for our American folks, that's like negative 56 Fahrenheit. It doesn't matter.
Unbelievably cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. And the
ridiculous.
kids get squirrely. I mean, we all do because they can't go outside and play at lunch or recess. Like it was a solid 2 weeks of that, I think.
Yeah, well,
Wild.
I'm glad you're all thought out.
Thank you. So much better.
So just back to being a traveling performer, and I think you mentioned like your early degree and studies were in the arts, right?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, like how that experience was, and also how it shaped you to who you are now.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it was always a part of me, David, and it was something that I needed to explore. And I think I sort of always knew that I wouldn't necessarily do that as a career for the rest of my life, but it
Mm-hmm.
felt like a really important thing to explore. And so I went to performing arts school for 2 years. I performed for a few years after. And it was after that I went and finished my degree in university and in communications. But it was a really important part of my life because it shaped, well, first of all, some of my greatest friendships are from that experience. And it shaped really who I am, my creative self. And I've brought that to a lot of my work. I think also, even as a coach, I've seen how, I mean, I think you build your empathy through performing. You
Mm-hmm.
have to learn to think about characters and how someone else is feeling and showing up in life in order to become one of them. So I think that it really shaped me in a couple ways. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
really incredible experience. And then just
Mm-hmm.
that sort of grit and work ethic that you learn in the performing arts, I think is also phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, really, really cool experience. Definitely
Yeah.
shaped who I am.
Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for artists. And one of the things I didn't realize years ago was how hard you have to work at, like as an actor, as an example, how hard it is to embody and make it believable the persona of someone else. Like
Yeah.
you see some of the best actors out there, like they are acting as someone else and they're believable, right? You actually believe that they're that person, and it's amazing. Like folks who could be comedians one day and killers in a movie another day, and then
Yeah.
what it's but you said the word empathy. You have to empathize what that character is. You have to embody that. And I think that really goes well into coaching and leadership, is understanding the other person, walking a mile in their shoes. And before we started recording, you're saying you've recently worked a lot with like young professionals, young leaders, young
Mhm.
professionals, emerging leaders. And you said you wish you had that coaching early on.
Mhm.
You want to talk more about some of that coaching you do for young professionals, people early on in their career?
Yeah. Yeah, David, I feel quite passionate about helping young people because I've seen, um, I'm jealous of the benefit that they get by getting that early coaching. And I wish that I had that experience early on to really figure out, what are my values? What are my strengths and my passions? What is it I really want in this life? And how does that match with who I am?
Mm.
And then also learning early on those habits and systems and mindset that are going to support where I want to go. To have that, I feel like early on is such a gift. And so I love working with young people earlier in their careers or just figuring out what their career might be. I also love their openness. I find that they're really open to it all. And I mean, many of my older clients are as well, but I just feel like that young energy, they just want to take it all in and
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate it. So love working with young people. And, one story I'll share is, I worked with a young fellow who was just in his first year or two of his career. And I just am blown away at how far he's come by getting coaching really early on as he was starting out. He really set himself up for success
Mm-hmm.
and he's blowing it out of the water, like with his career, early promotions and awards and things, because he's so intentional about his work and what he wants and has these great habits on the side to support that life. So I just think it's such a great example of what's possible
Yeah.
with some coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I love working. I've had the opportunity of working with younger professionals, like a few years out of college as well. And definitely you get, I guess, it's almost like they don't have the bad habits yet that
Yeah.
they have to work out of, like these old patterns. Like honestly, folks like yourself and I might have some old patterns
Yeah.
from years of either being scarred or whatever it might be that we might have to work ourselves out of. But I find young professionals are much
Right.
more moldable there. But I guess like when you look at a young professional, you mentioned something about like self awareness to me,
Mm.
building self awareness early on. I guess when like that coaching client you're talking about, like how do you help them build that self awareness so that they can get out of their own way and start achieving those promotions or whatever they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about coaching, as you know, David, is um, it inevitably brings self-awareness by holding space for them, asking good questions, and that beautiful thing and experience in those moments where you see them have realizations of their own. And oh, wow, I guess I could try that and that might work well. Or gosh, I've been, hard on myself and I could look at this differently. Um, and just holding space allows them to realize, actually, yes, that is what I want to go after. And putting everything else aside. So, whatever the world is telling them, or anybody in their lives is telling them, or what they think they're supposed to do, gets pushed to the side and they get really clear on what they want, and also start to realize themselves maybe the things that they can work on. And the things that they're already really good at. So it's this beautiful space, the container that is coaching. It's really incredible to watch and be a part of.
Yeah. I'm always curious though when I talk to leaders and coaches, like what do you see people getting? How do people get in their own way? Like, are you seeing patterns there? How people get in their own way?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think we tell ourselves a lot of stories. That's what I see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really neat to break those down and to see people realize, oh, that's just a story I've been telling myself. It's not actually true. And those fears that we hold on to, even as adults, right, that
Mm-hmm.
are just there, and we don't really realize that it's really a fear holding us back. And so to give people the chance to figure that out is pretty cool. Yeah, I see that a lot. And to have to have clients just have those realizations on their own is pretty remarkable. I had one client recently that is in their 30s and said, I really thought that the best years of my life were over until they started working and working on the coaching and realized all these possibilities for themselves and how much was available to them. And now they're just inspired and doing all these great things, but they were really stuck. And so I think, that's a good example. Like, we get it in our own way. It's all there, but those stories or whatever are holding us back.
Yeah. I, what I always find interesting there is those stories where, hey, I used to be able to do something, and you saying that person is, the best years are behind me, and they look at the past, how they might have accelerated their career or whatever it might be, great relationships up to now, and the formula that they had early on in their lives worked for them, and they're trying to apply that same formula to where they are right now in their life, and they're finding it's not working, and
Yeah.
I'm finding it's how open are they to trying some new ways of tackling the same problem that they have. Like, how do I get out of this rut? How do I get out of this? But you open it up for them, right?
Yeah.
But on that, you also talk to a lot of folks like who are not so early in their career. You mentioned, right? Like there's a network of people that you work with there. Want to talk more about that? Like, how you work with people further on in their lives and their careers and some of those experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so really, I try to work around a 5-step formula that I have. And so it just creates sort of a baseline for really what I believe is necessary, and why I call it life performance coaching is I believe you have to take a holistic approach when you want to make meaningful change in your life. And so I sort of combine that life and career and leadership coaching philosophy together, because I don't feel like, life and career are mutually exclusive.
Mm.
Um, and so what I do is really encourage clients to look holistically at their whole life, um, and do sort of a time and energy audit. Where am I now? And then figure out where you want to go. And with that, who am I? What are my values, passions, strengths? Um, so that I'm really clear on what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the other piece is, like I mentioned before, the habits and systems and mindset that are going to help me to get there and support me in my success.
Mm.
And so then that formula ends up coming out with sort of this personal roadmap um, for their success and fulfillment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So really, that's sort of what I loosely follow with people so that we're really looking holistically at everything. And yeah, and I support them on their own individual journey.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll link those. You have those 5 steps written down somewhere?
I do. Well, you know what, David? I have a free Level Up Your Life starter guide that we can put in the show notes if that
Yep.
works.
Yeah, let's do that.
That gets people started on this process. If they're just intrigued and interested in kind of heading down this path of where am I at and where might I want to go, then yeah, they're welcome to download that for free.
Okay. Yeah, we'll link that later.
Yeah.
Switch. Let's switch gears for a second, if that's okay.
Mhm.
When I met you, you were working in the corporate world for a number of years. I think it was the energy sector for many years, and
Indeed.
you recently, I don't know how recent, but you moved into entrepreneurship, and that's another theme of this podcast is just really that courage, taking that,
Mhm.
like, leadership's also about courage to take a step and lead yourself in the direction that feels right for you. And through our chats, we talked about that transition for you. Are you open to just talking about a few things there, like that transition from the stable 9 to 5 corporate world to
Mhm.
going to like working on your own, and how that's been?
Yeah, for sure, David. Um, yeah, I think it's incredible how much has changed for me. But I worked in the energy industry mostly for the last 16 plus years, and had incredible experiences. I had a great job, and I think what I realized, David, was it was a great job for somebody else. It wasn't a great job for me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and so I gained all this incredible experience and worked with these amazing people, but I was feeling unfulfilled. I was feeling dissatisfied in my job, but feeling guilty about it because I knew I had a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that's what's so interesting and what really inspired me to become a coach was my own journey working with a coach and hitting that point where I knew I had to make a change. Uh, Nothing was feeling good. I was burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I do feel really inspired to help other people navigate that, um, because it's been life changing, truly. It was life changing working with a coach to open up. And just like we've talked about, I felt really stuck and I, realized I had a lot of stories I was telling myself and that there was a lot of possibility to do other things and to have another career, which is really scary. It's
Yeah.
scary to take on and make a big change, but it's been incredible. And I really want to help other people do the same if they're not feeling good with where they're at, because there's so much possibility there. So
Mm-hmm. And so for the folks who are listening, and if on their mind is, okay, I know I need to make a change. I'm
mhm,
scared to make this change. I
yeah,
want to make a change. I guess, like, what do you think is needed in order to make that leap? Whatever that change might be,
yeah.
a certain life change, a career change,
Mm,
a habit change. How would you advise there to at least start that process? Because it is
yeah,
scary.
yeah, yeah. Good question, David. I think, my advice would be to just start. So start down the path of exploring what that could look like in a small way, because I've really realized that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You're not just going to change things
Mm-hmm.
um, really fast, but you need to start heading down the path of just exploring what that could look like. Work with a coach, do some reflective work, even just for example, and I'm not just trying to pump my free guide, but really truly what I'm trying to give people is that starting point of
Mm-hmm.
where am I at right now? And the questions in there are designed to open you up and just get you thinking about what you might want to change and what's working well and maybe what isn't. So I think it's giving yourself the time to think about what is working and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not feeling good? And just baby step it, and it's the same with a
Mm-hmm.
habit. If you want to start something new, just start. Just start, even if it's
Yeah.
2 minutes a day, even if it's just trying it tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
just start. Yeah.
Just start. And that's the advice I was giving someone recently. I really, really hate New Year's resolutions.
Yes, me too.
It just disgusts me. And I'm going to go on record saying that. And the reason why is that January 1st should not be a reason, shouldn't be the why behind
Yeah.
change for you. Because if that is your why, you will not achieve it. Your
Yeah.
why needs to be something deeper and stronger. So for this this conversation I had was simple as when I used to go to the YMCA when I had a membership there. I hated January and February. It was full of folks who just did not. They were going to cancel within
Yeah.
30 days after their free membership is up, right? And it annoyed me. But it's the just do it. Like if you want to do
Mhm.
it, just do it. It doesn't have to be January 1st. Like today, you know what? I think I need to lose some weight. Okay, just 3 times a week, just do something. 2 minutes a day, even. If you
Yeah.
can commit to that, the next week we're going to do something for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The next week, 4 minutes. Oh, but I don't know. Like, you know how to walk, right? You know how to go up and down a set of stairs, right? You know how to lift up a weight. Oh, but what's the best weight? You lift boxes all the time, don't you? And so I'm going on a rant here, but it's just do something,
Yeah.
right? The Yeah, I mean, my last comment here, I remember someone when I was in school said, oh yeah, I want to work out with you, Dave. I'm like, cool. Oh, but I don't want to get bulky. I don't want to get too jacked. I don't want to get too ripped. I don't want to, I'm looking at him up and down. I'm like, I don't think you have anything to worry about right now. We have a long way to go. You're worried about getting jacked and ripped and not too bulky. Trust me, it takes years sometimes to even get to that level, right?
Oh yeah. It's so
And
true. And I think we we want fast results all the time. That is how we're built.
mhm.
And but it's the strength and the power is in the consistency.
Yeah, it's
And
consistent. Yes.
it really is. And so you get it over time. So we have to let go of those fast results and be just all about the consistency. And then all of a sudden you see those benefits long term.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable, right? But
Yeah.
we have to let go of those fast results. Things don't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the thing I love to see people be able, like, as I'm around a lot of work people who are very driven, like some of the smartest work people I've ever worked with. Like, these are very smart people. When I say smart, like multiple patent holders, PhDs. I've worked with some very smart people, and if some of these individuals who are trying to make change, like if they could apply that discipline they have put into, what they did for school, how they execute at work, if they could apply
Mhm.
even 10% of that discipline to, I want to lose weight, I want to do better in my marriage, even just 10%, I think they would see massive results. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, their energy is put into their work, right?
Mhm.
99%. And by the way, all of us have some guilt over that, and myself included, right? You know, putting more of your energy into work versus like family stuff. Just got to swing the pendulum back the other way, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an interesting point, David, because again, I think I go back to like, if we can get some of that information early on to take that balanced approach to our life, what do I want
Mm-hmm.
it all to look like? And then I think you can go into your career, and we'll have moments where maybe we put more into our career
Mm-hmm.
or more into our family. But I think it changes our mindset about what we want. And if
Yeah.
we're clear at the beginning, then maybe we won't go overboard, and we'll have a more balanced approach to all the things in our lives that we want.
Yeah, yeah, and it's you got to rebalance when you when you realize, oh, the pendulum's too far one way.
Yeah.
Rebalance it, and it will swing the other way too. But
Yeah.
it's just understanding it's a pendulum swing. Life is a pendulum swing. Another analogy someone's used with me, it's just multiple plates in the air, right?
Yeah.
So when you see one plate about to slow down, you got to let go of this one and spin that
Yeah.
plate. So sort of like the traveling circus right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me, I did want to ask you some more personal questions now, and I did send you a question around anything you've doubled down on lately or changed your mind about lately. What
Mhm.
would those be?
Yeah. I have really doubled down on, and it's interesting, we were just talking about this, like my workout and mindfulness habits. And those were two that I'll be honest about, I struggled to make consistent. I've always been physically active and known that I wanted to prioritize that. And I've always known they're important, but I found meditation hard. I would try it and know that I should probably be doing it, but I struggled to do it and do it consistently. And same with a workout routine. And I found that really challenging being, um, you know, uh, having a busy career and having young kids. When do you fit it in?
Mm-hmm.
But my husband and I actually both a couple of years ago said, we are doing this. Like, we are at that point in our life. We are making it an absolute priority because we know how important this is
Mm-hmm.
for longevity and to support everything else in our lives. And so we fit it in early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started, like you said, David, very small. So it was like 5 or 10 minutes to start building that habit, knowing that it was tricky to wake up maybe a little bit earlier. And I'm not saying that that's for everybody by any means, but it was really important to find a place where it fit for us to make it consistent. And so
Yeah.
now it's a habit.
Yeah.
And so I am really dedicated to that now because I know how it makes me feel and how it impacts the rest of my life. And then same with mindfulness. It's still something I'm working on, but I am committed to making that a part of my life because I've seen the benefits and both for myself and my clients, how important it is. So journaling every day, meditating a few times a week, that's really important to me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just get started.
Yeah,
Right.
just get started. It's so true. Just start small.
Well, and with that, you're talking about waking up early and that struggle to wake up early. Like folks don't understand sometimes that is part of the new habit, part of the workout itself, and you got to consider that or accept it. Like part of my workout routine is not the workout routine; it's the routine of getting to the workout.
Yes.
Waking up at 5 a.m. 3-4 times a week, that is part of the workout, and you need to
Yes.
consider that. And that's that's what gets people.
Hmm.
Oh, after work, friend said, let's go for drinks or let's go out, and distractions. It's
Yeah.
overcoming those distractions.
Yeah.
That's part of the workout routine.
It's
So
so true. And
yeah.
and I think, to your point, David, it's just changing your mindset a bit around just trying it. So figuring out what works. I remember someone telling me that they got up at 5, a couple of years ago. I was like, I am not that person. I can't get up at 5 to work out. I am not that person. But then I thought, you know what? What is the harm in me trying? If I just try it, I can say this doesn't work for me, but why don't I give it a few weeks and try it? And now it's what I do. And now I can't imagine not doing it. And I and again, to your earlier point, it's the stories we tell ourselves, those limiting beliefs. I can't be that person. I just thought I couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually had to go reverse on that habit. I was that
Okay.
person, 4:30, 5 a.m. And this is like pre-pandemic. I was pretty hardcore. Every weekend would go to, this class, that class. And
Wow.
actually it became, talking about pendulum swings, the pendulum swung too far one way, like way too disciplined on that front. And
Interesting.
yes, yes. And the pandemic in some ways was a blessing because I couldn't travel, couldn't go anywhere else. It actually slowed me down a bit. I'm still
Okay.
disciplined, but it's much more measured now, in my opinion. So I had an opposite problem. I was too hardcore, like really hardcore.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't sleep enough, and I was cranky most of the time too. You see where I'm going with this? It was the story I was telling myself is like, this is non-negotiable.
Mm, yes.
It, actually, it is, right? It needs to be.
Yeah.
Uh, so just back to you. I ask every guest this question is,
Hmm.
so just knowing what you know now about life, leadership, habits, you work with a lot of young professionals as well. If you had to go back to that young professional Jen early on in her life and
Mm,
career, what would you advise her right now?
good question, David. Um, a few things come to mind, and I think I've mentioned a few of them already, but really committing to your growth. And actually a big part of that's been a big lesson for me even more recently is how important your connections are and the people around you, understanding the mentorship opportunities and the connections that you have and nurturing those, because there's always opportunities to help each other out. And so how important those are to maintain and appreciate early in your career. And then I think you've got the connections and the mentorship, but then your own growth. um, you know what what opportunities are there to just keep growing as in your profession, as a leader,
Mm-hmm.
um, as a person. Keep that going, because that really strengthens who you are and how you show up.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, and I think another big one is those habits. Like, I think we kind of know some of those things that are important to support um, the things that we want to do. But it isn't until the last few years that I realized the real impact that those have. The workout habits, the mindfulness, the sleep, all of those things that come into play. And it's amazing when my clients do that sort of life and energy audit, the realization, oh my gosh, I'm spending 14 hours a week on Netflix and 14 hours a week on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering why I don't have any time for things, wondering why
Mm-hmm.
I am not feeling super good. And not that those things are okay in small doses, but I think the realization how much time was being spent there um, really was a light bulb for a lot
Yeah.
of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how can we shift a few of those hours and make better use of them and support where we really want to go? So I think those are some of the biggest parts, David. Um, and really, again, I'll just go back to, like, take it all in. Learn from everybody around you, because even if you're not in your dream job right now, there's so much you can take from it and learn from it, as we do with every job that we do and every life experience we have.
Mm-hmm.
Take it all in, take it with you, and learn from those people around you. So really have that growth mindset and that openness, and you'll walk away with so much more along the way.
That's beautiful. What do you think Jen would say?
What do I think I would say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
What would resonate with her?
yeah, I think Jen would really appreciate that early work of someone saying, "Hey, what is it you really want, and how does that match with who you are?" Um,
Mhm.
for someone to dig in on that with me would have really resonated because I mean, I've had all these great experiences, but I think it would have shaped my path a little bit differently along the way.
Mhm.
So yeah, have that openness, but if someone can do the work early to really understand who they are and be really clear about what they want, it's going to make all the difference
Mhm.
in their path for sure.
Wonderful. Well, Jen, last question. And I always leave it to my guest to ask the last question. So you can ask any question you want.
Wow, David. Okay. I want to know from you, I guess, to flip it over. So the same topic. What what did young, early in his career David need to hear?
So early in my career, just for context, like early in my career, I was very much a go-getter, which is good, right? I was a go-getter, self-learner, love to learn, which is good, right? I
Yeah.
think, you know, I think it's patience is very important. Number one. So I would, and how would he react to that? He'll be like, yeah, yeah, whatever, to patience, right? But patience is important. Good things come when you work through it step by step, right? And sometimes just in the eagerness, I'd be like, okay, let's go from step 1 to 20 right now. And so that's one piece of advice. I think the other piece of advice I would give younger Dave in his career is patience with yourself, but patience with others. And that's, giving more grace to others. One of the things, because I was so driven and just aggressive, with things, is if others weren't similar in that way, I would almost like, I wouldn't say look down, but I didn't respect it as much. And it's not because, and it's recognizing, like we talked about empathy at the beginning. I didn't really care. It's, we're moving forward. We're going to do this. It was good and it was bad. And I didn't recognize that you have to bring others along with you, and you need that balance in a team where some are very aggressive and gung ho, and you need those deeper thinkers. And these are really good coworkers. They're deeper thinkers. They're not going to speak up right away. That does not mean they don't have great ideas, and you got to get it out of them and have that patience to get out of them, and doing it aggressively too. Okay, I want your opinion, Jen.
Yeah.
That doesn't work either. You got to
Yeah.
speak in the way that they are most receptive, and that's how you get the best out of your team. Um, and so those are early, like that latter patience with others and meeting them where they are. That's a big piece of advice, and it's something I'm still working on today.
Yeah.
I'm way better than I am than 20 years ago, right? But yeah, it's just being fair to other people and understanding that they're not going to be like you, and that's why you have a good team. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
that's
really
my
good point.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I think, we don't necessarily spend enough time to get to know people the way that we need them to. And when we do that, you know, we figure out their strengths and how they tick, and we work that much better together. But we don't always make the time or have the or feel like we have the time, but it becomes really important, doesn't it?
It's extremely, extremely important.
Yeah.
Very, very important, especially like, and you realize it when you start owning your own team and you're
Mhm.
responsible for at your own team, and you realize like what's important here, and giving people it. There's a cost to being right, is what
Yeah.
I've learned too as a leader. There's a cost to it, and you have to determine, is this the political capital I want to expend right now to being right with my team, even? Or is this a situation where I need to be right? Like, hey, this is critical. We need to get this right, and define critical. I think everyone's logical enough, but then most of the time, the default needs to be, I've trained these people. I'm watching them and I'm coaching them, but they need to find the right way, and let them find out what's right. They'll consult you, and it's not going to be your way, but let them find out what's right, what right means for them. And that's the thing I've realized too. Like, so there's a cost to being right. Is
Yeah.
and there's a lot of layers there to unpack. It's not a, don't take this as a little TikTok clip and says, hey, there's a cost of being right. Like, there's a lot of context behind that as well.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
so yeah, that's advice I would give to the younger David, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Good advice.
Jen, thank you very
Yes.
much. It's been 40 minutes.
Wow. Thank you,
Yeah.
David. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah. Let's do this again. Right. I'll be interested in a few months to see where things are at and with you, and we'll check in again.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thanks so much, David.
All right. Thanks, Jen.